Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 185 of the RRBG Podcast. The RRBG Podcast is a proud member of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com to check out the list of amazing shows on our network, including the Sofa King Podcast and Art and Jacob Do America, which I was recently a guest on. Check out the website, make sure you leave reviews, and support the network. This episode is brought to you by El Yucateco Hot Sauce. Chances are, if you've ever been to a Mexican restaurant in your life, you've seen one of these bottles on their tables. Either the red or the green chile verde sauce. Their salsa picante is a staple. It goes great with tacos and quesadillas, but also other food, like burgers and chicken wings. Hell, if you go to their website, you can actually see a video from their YouTube channel on how to make a fantastic Bloody Mary mix using the sauce. They've been doing this for over 50 years, and like I said, it is a staple. So go ahead and check out shopelucateco.com and use the promo code RRBG to get 10% off. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Killcliff, my personal favorite CBD recovery drink in the market today. They've got some delicious flavors like the new Strawberry Days or the Orange Kush. Go to their website, killcliff.com right now, and check it out. They've also got the Ignite Clean Caffeine Energy Drink with 150 milligrams of caffeine. And that also comes in a great assortment of flavors as well. Check them out. Make sure you go to killcliff.com for more information. And finally, this episode is brought to you by Saints Joints. They make premier, top-shelf, pre-rolled joints in these incredible artistic packages. You can go to their website, saintsjoints.com, right now to check them out. They're my favorite to bring out to parties or when I go to the comedy store to hang out. Everybody is always blown away by the artwork and the quality of the joints themselves. They also have pure CBD pre-rolls as well if you're not into the THC and just want to take part in some of the healing properties of the plant. We recently collaborated with Saints Joints and created a special playlist featuring music from some of the past guests on the show. Go to their Instagram page right now, at saints_joints, and check it out. Or go to their website, saintsjoints.com, to pick up some pre-rolls and some awesome merch. In this episode, I talked to Erik Stolhanske. He is a member of the Broken Lizards comedy troupe, most known for his work in the movies Super Troopers and Beerfest. We talk a little bit about those movies. We talk about Super Troopers 3. We talk about Potfest. We talk about his struggles of growing up without a leg, and we talk about desserts and pies. It was a great conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Please follow him on social media at Erik Stolhanske to keep up with his work, and please check out our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG. Cheers.
Boy, did we make this happen? Holy shit. Fucking A. Shit balls, cock dong.
Perfect way to start the episode. I was just going to compliment you on how wholesome your internet presence is.
Right? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was looking.
If anyone's seen any of our movies, I don't think that would surprise anybody by the language I just used.
No, it did. Well, that's what I wanted to bring it up because I looked up at your website and it's like, happily married man from Minnesota, loves sports and pies. I'm like, that doesn't add up with what I've seen. What I've seen on the screen, man.
Sodomizing bears and chugging maple syrup.
Yeah. So for everybody that's watching that's not aware, this is Erik, and bear with me, I'm Cuban, Stolhanske.
Sure.
No, that's wrong.
Not even close.
That's
fine. Whatever.
How do you pronounce it?
Stolhanske.
Oh, so like a white dude. Okay.
Stolhanske.
Yeah. Erik Stolhanske.
Jay Chandrasekhar and I used to be roommates in college, and nobody ever got our names right.
Stolhanske.
We would get pieces of mail that were just completely wrong.
Yeah.
Like Chandrasekhar would get pieces of mail that would say like Giacomoni and Chandramoni. I can't even pretend to repeat how bad they were. And we would keep them. We loved them so much.
That's awesome, man.
Chacamondian. It's ridiculous. Cuba, that's awesome. Where do you live? I was in Havana last year. I had a great time in Cuba.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I live in LA, but I used to live in Miami, which was 90 miles away from home.
Sure.
I wasn't born in Cuba. My parents were born there, and I was born in New Jersey.
Cuban descent.
Cuban descent. Yeah, they
Cuban descent.
They ran away from Cuba in different methods, which it sounds fake when I hear them telling stories. Like my dad's like, yeah, I snuck into the Peruvian embassy and hopped into one of their boats. I'm like, isn't that an episode on Netflix? Like, what are you talking about?
It's like Gilligan's Island, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I grew up in Jersey, and then I moved to Miami and grew up around the Cubans and learned about the culture. And I actually got to go when I was younger to Cuba. Cuba's interesting depending on how much money you bring with you when you go.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they have hotels with sushi and, all kinds of amenities. But, if you go to the heart of like Havana Vieja, as they call it, buildings are falling apart. They don't have paint. They don't know what food is. Yeah, it's nuts, man.
Yeah, there's no food in the markets. It was really interesting, just the history of the island, visit old Havana and just to see buildings and cities that are that old compared to the United States. I mean, the cities there are much older. Old Havana is much older than anything in the United States.
Yeah, and so they still have all those really old cars hanging around, from the 50s, the Chevys and all that, which is great, and they're well maintained. They have no choice. That's all they got. Like, I gotta clean this car. And so there's been stories of people that turn those cars into boats to come to Florida. Or,
really,
they'll figure out how to make it buoyant and throw it in the ocean. And cross their fingers.
Wow.
It's pretty wild, man. I've heard some crazy, crazy stories. Friends of mine from high school that are like, yeah, my mom, they jumped on the boat and she was on her time of the month and it attracted sharks. And that's how I lost my uncle. It's like, wait, what?
Wow.
Yeah, man. It's wild.
Wow.
It's wild. And then, you had some of them reach land and then get pushed right back out. And just like, oh my God. So nuts. I get it. We got to have the regulations to maintain a populace and some kind of structure. Can't just have everybody just that shows up, but also, some consideration as to like how they got there. It's like, my goodness, that's wild that people do that. It must be that bad is what I say,
Yeah.
They're willing
There's not a lot of food. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're willing to risk it, it's not that bad. But to switch to a more up and chippery topic.
Sure.
How have you been doing with the pandemic?
Sweet segue.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. My wife and I are getting a little cabin fever. I'm actually at my wife's family's cabin right now up on the Minnesota-Canadian border.
Nice.
And we kind of get away up here just to be out in nature, do some writing. This spring, when the pandemic first started back in March, we came up here and we spent a couple of weeks at a time up here just planting trees and being outside and just nobody knew at the beginning if this was going to wipe out the population. We'd all watched too many movies.
Yeah. Everybody just buy all the toilet paper.
Yeah. Couldn't find toilet paper. All the food at grocery stores was gone. So we kind of hunkered down here for a while back in March. But, now travel. I go to Los Angeles. I was in Los Angeles last week, and
nice.
Airlines are pretty full. Airport's pretty full. I was on the beach in Santa Monica, and a ton of people out on the beach. So it felt like society was up and running again, and it feels like it when I travel other places. So I don't know. It seems like things are, we're trying to do the best we can to keep things up and running. Try to visit restaurants, but be socially, responsible. Wear a mask. Do a little social distancing. But I think it's important to try to make sure our economy doesn't crash and keep these going.
Yeah, it's very important. Very, very important to keep the economy going because that's what's gonna affect us later on down the once we find a cure. That's great. Everybody's healed up, able to spit in each other's faces again. But what are we gonna do when all the music venues are closed? Are we gonna have to reopen everything up like new venues? Like it's gonna be a crazy buildup.
Yeah. Hopefully. We can maintain, businesses and everything. So we try to support locally. So my wife and I try to support local restaurants and try to get takeout or, if we can go somewhere and they're socially distanced and they're open, you try to help restaurants and stores stay open. So we're doing the best we can. How you doing?
I'm good, man. LA is still pretty tightly locked down with indoor eating and whatnot, but to go is still a thing. And, but just keep him. I'm so busy with work that I Didn't even realize we're already in October. Like, I'm like, oh, wow, it's halfway through October. I thought this was only going to be a couple months. What's going on?
I guess the nice thing about Santa Monica last week was there were so many tables and people outdoors.
Yeah.
That it didn't really feel like the restaurants were all shut down 100%.
Yeah, and there's people working out on the sidewalk. Like, there's gyms that have pulled out all of the equipment onto the sidewalk, and you just see people doing CrossFit and whatnot. I'm like, oh, hey, got to make it happen, I guess.
We biked down Main Street in Santa Monica, and they had these cement barriers going out into Main Street on Santa Monica, Main Street in Santa Monica. Mm-hmm. Cement barriers coming out into the road, and they were doing CrossFit on the sidewalk and then partially in the road.
Jesus.
It was like 9:00 at night, and they were doing push-ups and these kettlebell things like out on the road.
Hey, gotta make do. Right? Gotta make do. Make do. And you know what? I like being outside. If I'm gonna be working out, I want to be outside, taking some sun. You know,
that's nice.
I always prefer the let's work out on the beach as opposed to let's work out in a sweaty gym and it smells weird. You know.
It was amazing to see how many people were out there on the beach.
Yeah.
Running, biking, just getting outside.
Yeah, so that is the best defense for the virus, is being healthy, having your body healthy and be in shape, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so you're a big proponent for P90X. I saw online, like you push that healthy living lifestyle, right?
Yeah, I was in the original P90X video. Tony Horton's a good pal of mine, so he did this thing called the Paragon Experience, where he hosts these weekend summits at his house, and he had it a couple weeks ago. So that's what I was doing out in LA a couple weeks ago. In addition to doing the Riding with the Broken Lizard guys, but
right, what running is that? I missed that. What was that?
The what? Oh, sorry. The Riding with the Broken Lizard.
Oh, riding.
Guys.
I thought you meant you did like an event where you guys went riding motorcycles to raise money.
That'd be fun.
All right, right.
Cool.
So you guys are riding. I saw on IMDb that there is a Super Troopers 3 listed there.
Yep, we've several drafts into it. We're plugging away. There's another script that we handed in recently to the studio. So yeah, we're plugging away.
Very cool. Very cool.
Great. We've been doing that's what also been happening a lot during this COVID. What I've been doing during this COVID to answer your earlier question.
Nice.
It's been a good time to get some writing done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of hope. That's the hope, is that people use this time wisely to be creative and not, doom and gloom, conspiracy theory, rabbit hole.
Yeah. Get off the internet, man. That place is.
It's crazy.
Doom and gloom. Oh my God.
I use it for the show, to promote the show as much as I can, and to get to get in touch with people, like how I got in touch with you. I mean, I found this old picture of us hanging out in New York for the
that's cool.
The release of Beerfest, and I was just like, oh man, I wonder if he's got an internet presence, and or IG, and I look it up. I'm like, oh, there he is on Instagram. Great. And so in that sense, the social media tool is helpful. To connect people.
Definitely try to stay active on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're trying to do something, you're producing something for the world, like you are, writing and also, just being a source of inspiration, you have to kind of put stuff out there. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's very true.
Yeah. So I guess the question I wanted to ask you, that it's on probably everyone's mind, and I know that I had a few people hit me up when they heard I was talking to you. Where's Weed Fest?
Whenever I do an interview, I say there's two questions I get asked the most. Usually it's, did you really drink maple syrup while making Super Troopers? And the second question I get asked the most is, where the fuck is Weed Fest? It's almost a daily occurrence.
Good. That's a good sign, right? That means people are interested. They want it.
People are really interested. After that movie came out, we sort of made it as a teaser because we wanted to get Willie Nelson in Beerfest, and he doesn't drink beer, so we wanted to find a way to get Willie Nelson in because Jay had just worked with him on Dukes of Hazzard, and kind of they'd become pals. And so we, came up with that funny ending, which we thought would just be a teaser that people would think is a joke, but people were like, hey, man, where's Potfest? Where's Potfest? When's it coming out? And then we realized that people were serious about it, and then we started getting incoming phone calls from 50 Cent. Snoop Dogg asked about it. Method Man came to our office. A bunch of people wanted to be in this. So we went to Warner Brothers, that owns intellectual property, because they made Beerfest. Mm-hmm. And we told them about all this interest that was coming in, all these incoming phone calls and people wanting to be in it. But they said, we're the studio that makes Yogi Bear, so they're not quite sure if they're ready yet to make a pot smoking movie. So we'll see. I don't know. It's starting to get legal across the country and becoming more acceptable. So maybe they'll start opening some doors.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. You think about that, the fact that it is legal now in several states, and it seems to be getting more accepted as a medicine, and less of a recreational type of thing. But you look back at like Cheech and Chong movies, like they were out.
Yeah,
they were successful.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't walk into Target and not see a Cheech and Chong T-shirt. Like it's part of culture.
Yeah, it's very true.
So I don't see why, the panic is still there from any of the higher ups over there. But hey, hopefully, you guys generate enough, like you did with Super Troopers 2. I mean, I remember seeing the campaigns to get people to kick in and get the thing going. Right?
Yeah, we had a very successful crowdfunding campaign, Indiegogo campaign for Super Troopers 2. So, we don't own the property we don't own the intellectual property to Beerfest, so I don't know if we could do that or not. Maybe, I guess we'd have to talk to them, but I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, buy it back from them. Get that right, get those rights back. I mean, Beerfest
get the rights back, yeah.
Beerfest was awesome, man. I remember being very excited about it because I was just getting into that world of beer. I mean, I worked in the beer industry for 8+ years, so it was a passion of mine, and to see it kind of represented like that in that sort of way, and with you guys were hilarious, and you were basically, it was you and Paul, you guys were the stars, because in Super Troopers it's kind of like the whole troop, right? Everybody's kind of got their screen time, but this movie felt like it centered around you and Paul.
We tried to make everything ensemble, yeah, but we kind of played the two straight guys. And then, Fink, Landfill, and Barry, what kind of characters that filled out that world. So every movie we tried to sort of rotate straight guys and playing more character-y roles.
Okay. Like,
for example, Simon Salmon, I was kind of the character role, and Steve was more the straight guy. And
okay.
But yeah, you're right. Super Troopers kind of had that 5-man ensemble. We're all cops in the same station. And then Beerfest, was a little different, where Paul and I were the brothers going to the event, and then the other guys filled out the world. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
Have you thought about
that? Was our love letter to beer.
Our love letter to beer, and the traditional German style too. Like this is my favorite time of the year. The mid-September to mid-October, Oktoberfest that people confuse. Everybody's like, oh, it's Oktoberfest, so it's in October. It's like, no, it starts in September.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I've always been a big fan of it. I've always wanted like legit lederhosen, like go out there and just get the real deal. Because you could buy some off a costume store, but it's not the same. I want the real deal.
Yeah.
And
have you ever been to Oktoberfest, the real thing in Munich?
I have not. I mean, I know I've heard many stories of water fountains being turned into beer fountains, and also horror stories of just puke everywhere and whatnot. But I love it. I mean, I've been to I think the biggest beer thing I've been to is just the Great American Beer Fest in Denver. That's the biggest one. Other than that
sounds fun.
It is. It's if you've never been, it's kind of, there's like 300 different breweries. Everybody giving away samples and getting drunk, and there's games to play and whatnot. But I did it as on the other side of the table as a producer of beer, and it was nuts, man, to see a line of people rolled up. I've been outside for 3 hours waiting to come inside to get an ounce of this liquid that we're making. And it's It's fascinating. It's fascinating the passion and love that went into building that up, and then see it kind of like all other commodities. It got kind of corporatized, and now it's like McDonald's. Craft beer is like McDonald's now.
It's funny. That's why I like the idea of Oktoberfest more, and actually in Munich, because you get those gigantic glasses. Yeah. It's not like going and getting a sample of this and waiting in line to get a sample of this. You get a gigantic mug, and
you get the boot, right?
Yeah, sure. It sounds like a blast.
Do you not drink at all?
I love beer, and I've always wanted to go to the real Oktoberfest in Munich, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, that's a trip to take, man. And hopefully, I mean, I don't know. They canceled this year, right? The big fest?
I think so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I still went out and got myself some Marzens and some German-style lagers for
nice.
and some brats, and just did that, at home. Did my own little
representing
at-home Oktoberfest. But it is awesome. It's one of my favorite times of the year. And then come the pumpkin beers that come after that, which some of them are good, some of them are a little too much.
Yeah, there's a really funny pumpkin ale sketch on SNL this week.
Yeah, with Bill Burr. He was great.
Bill Burr. It's fantastic.
He's been getting so much crap about his monologue, man. It's such a weird thing to kind of attack comedians for being funny.
And Bill Burr's kind of known for that. I mean, that's why they had him on, right? They should have expected to know, if people know his stand-up, which a lot of people do. I mean, he's hugely famous.
Yeah.
That's what they might get.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess some people don't know him. The people that watch SNL, because I mean, SNL has kind of, for the last few years, I think, have kind of steered away from getting a lot of like the Comedy Store, stand-up comedians, and kind of just more of the sketch comedy, kind of Upright Citizens Brigade, or what do you call that? Second City, the improv troops over like stand-up comedians. And now it seems like they're kind of leaning back towards stand-up comedy, especially adding Punky recently. She's a Comedy Store vet, and now Bill Burr. So I don't know. How do you feel? Like, do you agree that, usually they lean more towards like improv troops?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I think it was great, but a lot of people are just giving it crap, and it just seems like the new normal for stand-up comedians. Like people giving Joe Rogan stuff for some of the things he says, even though he'll come back and apologize. People will freak out, like, oh, he said some lies on his show, and we should cancel him and censor his show on Spotify. And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Crazy.
Why are we censoring free speech?
We're so divided right now. This country is just so divided. It's a shame.
Yeah. So what do you think?
We should come together more.
What do you think we can do to get together, like to fix it?
We need more comedies. We need more comedy movies.
Yeah.
That's my solution right there.
More comedy movies?
Tell the studios they want that we need more comedy films to bring this country together.
And real comedy. Not like, just some kind of fluffy thing to emptiness. Like we want some real, like I remember comedy being dangerous when I was a kid. Like I felt like I was doing something wrong by watching like Eddie Murphy.
Cheech and Chong or something?
No, Eddie Murphy.
Cheech and Chong movies, yeah.
Even Martin. I remember Martin did a movie that was kind of a stand-up movie, Martin Lawrence. And it was, I snuck out with my friends to go to the theater to see it. And it was just like very raunchy, kind of inappropriate, but still felt like, oh my God, this is so cool. We're, sneaking off to see this thing we're not supposed to be seeing. And comedy's kind of lost that,
It's too bad.
Yeah.
I saw Martin Lawrence at the Comedy Store. He was maybe preparing for a comedy special, but man, he's great. He's so good.
Have you done a lot of stand-up, or do you mostly write?
A little bit. I mean, background's mostly, being a comedic actor with the Broken Lizard Group and being in our comedy films. But I've toured. I've done tours across Canada and the States, and yeah.
Do you like it? Is that something you want to pursue more, like down the road, if things open back up, or do you want to
live shows?
Yeah, or do you just prefer writing and working in a film?
I mean, I like the live audience experience and getting up and, working with an audience. It's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. You get to meet people immediately, hang out with them afterwards. I like that whole sense of being in the room with fans. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, I guess if I had my way, I'd love to just be able to continue making movies. I mean, I love the idea of like sitting down, writing a whole script, and then you create the character and you get it in front of the camera and you got to edit it, put it together. As Broken Lizard, we always loved Caddyshack and Animal House and Fletch and all that. So to be able to try to, make those comedies is sort of a dream come true. So
yeah.
I'd like to continue to try to make more movies.
Nice. Yeah. And when it comes to the writing room with you guys, is it just kind of whoever comes up with an idea, you guys toss it out there and see where it goes? Or is there like somebody who does most of like the initial writing and then people tag on? Like how is the process for you guys?
It's very, very ensemble writing. You throw an idea out there, and if something kind of catches, you just kind of keep throwing ideas out. There's never a wrong idea. So it may take a month of just throwing out. Let's say if we get a kernel of an idea, like just throw out ideas for a month, and then create a very detailed outline. Mm-hmm. And then once we feel like we have the story and a very detailed outline, each of us will break off and go write 20 pages.
Okay. And
then the first draft comes together. You can get it pretty quickly, but it's really all over the place. Characters' names are different and plot lines. And then you go through another draft. Each one of us tries to kind of fix our section to try to make it weave in more seamlessly. Okay. And then eventually each script gets assigned a person, which we call the bitch, because it's sort of a thankless job. But everybody gives their notes and their sections, and they have to weave it all together into a draft.
Okay.
But it just is easier when you have one person that can go through the whole section
Right.
and make all the sort of different sections fit together like a puzzle piece. And then we start making notes on that draft, which is kind of woven together. And then we go through like 20 drafts of that process. So we end up with like 20 or 30 drafts eventually by the time we shoot something.
Wow. That's crazy. And, it's quite an accomplishment, because if there's anything I've learned in my life is that getting adults together to do something together is almost impossible.
It was easier when we were in our 20s. We all lived together and had more time to spend together. Now there's different things in life that pull us apart a little bit more, families and living in separate homes. But yeah, we still, I guess we just have the chemistry and the experience of being together enough that we can continue to write screenplays.
That's good, man. Yeah, I can't even get my friends together to go to the movie theater. So it's like, oh, sorry, I got to drop off the kid, or hey, yeah, no, I can't do it today. Let's do it next week. It's like, getting a whole group together to write, it sounds terrifying to me.
It's like wrangling cats. Yeah, it is a lot of work.
Yeah, and did you guys feel like a whole lot like different when you were writing Super Troopers 2? Just kind of the expectations that were there from like, oh, okay, the first one was such a cult hit, everybody loved it. Was like, is there that pressure? Because you hear it all the time that sequels never live up to it, or whatever you want to say. And how did you guys feel when going into that for the writing?
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't let it bother us. We obviously were aware of the idea of all that you said. The best thing we could do is try to remember when we first wrote originally Super Troopers, we wrote stuff that made us laugh and then developed it around a plot and tied it together. And then we tried to have funny scenes that, genuinely made us laugh, the five of us laugh. So it made us laugh. It kind of passed the test. And so we wanted to try to get back to that writing the sequel. It's just like, let's try to make funny scenes that fit into a plot, but that, genuinely make us laugh. So people remember, I guess, like the Danny DeVito scene or the French-speaking scene in Super Troopers 2. And we just tried to have some sort of those kind of like those highlight scenes that happened in the first film where people might remember, like the meow scene or the opening pullover scene. So we just tried to, have that feeling, I guess, of being where we were when we wrote the first one. And a lot of...
Yeah, go ahead.
And but I guess what's been kind of interesting is, you'll get like 10 people say they love a sequel, but one person will say, it doesn't live up, it's not as good. And then you always remember that bad one.
Right.
But recently I've been seeing a lot of stuff on social media will say, at first I was really hesitant about the sequel and I had sequelitis. And at first, I didn't love it, but then I went back and I watched it again and it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. Right. So I think a lot of people on first reaction, they see it and they just immediately compare it to the first one.
Right.
But if they see it in a sort of a second independent viewing, there's been a lot of feedback recently by saying that second viewing they enjoyed so much more.
I might have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, there's that inherent sequelitis with it.
Yeah, I was analyzing that with myself really, because I went in, I made it a day. I was like, I'm gonna barbecue and we're gonna sit down and watch it, and I'm gonna smoke a doob and make sure I'm like right there in that same frequency and that I was with the original. And then that's where I failed. It's like that's one of those things that humans do to themselves. Like we just you want to relive that nostalgia, those berries. It's like you could be blinding yourself just because you're expecting something else, instead of just absorbing for the first time. Because that's how I did the first movie, was just, hey, check out this funny movie. And I'm like, oh, wow, amazing. And then now for the second one, you go in thinking, all right, this is something I'm expecting. It's like, you can't do that. You can't do that because it's
hard.
Yeah. It tarnishes, your perspective, like you said. I loved Super Troopers 2. I thought it was great from the get. But I did see people saying that, and even like other sequels, like you look at Anchorman. Like Anchorman, everybody, oh, that movie's trash. It's like, it's not. It's just, you had other things that you were wanting. I don't know how to make people feel better about their nostalgia. They're suffering from. Now
it's hard, yeah.
With Super Troopers 3, like, are you going at it with the same approach of like, okay, we need to have those key scenes, or are you kind of just winging it with a new, fresh idea or anything like that?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we had with Super Troopers 2 was sort of so much time had passed, and we kind of had to set up where we were in life, the characters, and that took a little while, I think, to get going. But now that we're doing Super Troopers 3 more quickly after Super Troopers 2, with less time passing, we're not really dealing with having to sort of reestablish the characters and where they are. And so I think it's more fun. It's just this Super Troopers 2 is fun, but this is just like there's a plot. It's kind of this crazy plot and this crazy story, and we're just getting into it. And there's not a lot of setup, and I think that will help the storyline. I've just get it. You're just hitting the gas pedal and going from the beginning.
Nice, man. Are you at all involved? I didn't see it in your credits or anything, but you're not involved with that show that's going on, the Tacoma show with some of the other guys?
Yeah, that's just a Kevin and Steve project that they're sort of a little side project, and bands do a solo album. They just that's their solo album right now, and then we'll come back together and make a couple movies. So,
yeah, I mean, it has an appeal to the Super Troopers fan base because it is kind of service related. They're firemen, and kind of people can associate firemen and police officers. So, and I think it's hilarious as well. But do you think the idea of doing some kind of weird crossover, like even with not just the show and Super Troopers meeting, but maybe like some of the characters from other movies like Club Dread, or maybe like a Beerfest characters,
like a Marvel universe?
Yeah. Make the Avengers of the Broken Lizard Avengers.
I feel like Sandler does that a little bit, doesn't he? Doesn't he kind of like have sort of his universe collide a little bit sometimes? Or Kevin Smith? Maybe Kevin Smith does it more than Sandler.
Kevin Smith definitely does it a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we don't currently have that in our script, but I think it's a funny idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be hilarious just seeing like maybe the Super Troopers arresting some of the Beerfest dudes getting too drunk or too rowdy, something like that.
Sure.
It requires a larger budget for special effects, though, if you're going to reuse some of the actors as well.
Yeah, I could see like the stoners at the beginning of Super Troopers. Or if all of a sudden those three stoners that are kind of identified as being the ones that are in the car at the beginning of Super Troopers, like you could see them somewhere, all three of them together, and they're identifiable. Or like the local cops who, get arrested at the end of Super Troopers. Like maybe you see them somewhere. Like if 2 or 3 people together, it could be identifiable. It could be a funny little grouping somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it'd be great. For people that aren't too aware, I think when I see those movies that you guys are just a bunch of druggies that drink and party all the time, but I'm sure that's not really the case. Now, do you feel that comedians or comedic writers have to have a source of some kind of conflict or kind of be messed up in order to be that funny? Or are you good with just the wholesome, you're fine and you're just funny? Because I get a lot that comedians, the reason that they're so funny is because they've had a terrible life leading up to it. You know what I mean? So they find a joke in everything.
Yeah, I think there's definitely comedy comes out of pain and conflict and all that kind of stuff and tragedy. I don't know. I mean, we kind of grew up in that generation when, SNL and, you hear about there's some anniversaries now going on about Caddyshack and all the partying that they used to do on set and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, when we were coming up, that was kind of the fun thing to do, was to drink and smoke and write jokes. I mean, so that was kind of how we were influenced, I guess.
Okay.
Like
under the influence? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, there's some of that involved. But most of the stuff that we create and we write is, often it takes a lot of academic sort of prowess to like create the outline and make things work. And, so you can kind of combine some of that stuff where you're laughing, making jokes and finding stuff that's funny, but you also do have to use sort of your gray matter to try to actually get the writing done and the discipline. And know where the inciting incidences are and the low points and the denouements and all that kind of stuff at work, and creating a formula that you want it to seem seamless and make it seem like there's no sort of screenplay writing in that, right? But that really does take a lot of work and time and effort to make it work.
Yeah, you can't just be partying all the time. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that also not everything that you come up with when you're drinking or smoking is good. You think it's good at the time.
Thrown away. Exactly. Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, that's so funny. Write it down, and then you wake up the next day. You're like, nah.
A lot of stuff gets thrown away.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like we had created that meow joke. Soder wrote it on a piece of paper, and like months later, found something in a piece of paper in his jacket, and he pulled out and he's like, "You guys remember this meow thing that we were talking about one night?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, that was funny." And sometimes it does work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is smart to write down because you can forget it pretty easily the next day too.
For sure. I mean, I forget everything that happens when I drink. What do you mean? Why am I here? How did I wake up here? Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I think that Super Troopers and all your movies work so well, and it's because it feels like it comes from a genuine place, like something that you guys you're sitting around doing that, and then writing ideas and picking the best ones from there instead of. Sometimes you see comedies from people that they'll write like a stoner comedy, but they've never smoked in their whole lives. It doesn't feel authentic because you don't really know you haven't been there,
Right.
But every stoner or person that drinks has woken up or thought of that idea of like waking up naked in the forest after a night of drinking or something, It happens. You're like, how did I end up here?
Next to a deer.
Next to a deer. Any kind of nugget of story that you can give away about the Super Troopers 3? Anything that we can peek into?
No, I mean I could, but I'm not going to. Right. It's funny too because I love the plot so much and the story, but I think that's the fun part of why I don't want to give it away too.
Okay.
I'm excited for people to come to see the theater and see it.
When is there a plan?
It's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while. I figured because everything's on hold with productions.
And we got to finish writing. It takes a long time to write, and then you got to shoot, and then you have to have time to market. So,
are you guys getting together?
It's moving forward.
Are you guys getting together in a room, or are you guys doing like the Zoom thing?
Mostly with Zoom. It's been strange. At first, it was awkward, maybe the first time, but then I don't know. It became very easy. I feel like the second meeting and sense it's just been almost feels like you're in the same room.
That's cool. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are getting used to that like minor lag that's there between conversations of spacing and time that you don't really get when you're in front of somebody. But we're getting used to it. I think it's the new world. Talking for a while at least. VR headsets.
I feel like sitting here with you talking to you, it just feels normal. I mean, I feel like we're in the same room and it doesn't feel it doesn't feel awkward anymore, I don't think. I think people are adapting.
Yeah, people are adapting. I mean, I grew up in that time where sci-fi movies were showing you this. You see like Demolition Man or something. You're like, they're talking on a tablet, and you're like, wow, that's crazy. And now that's what we're doing.
Here we are. That's true.
Yeah, it scares me to think, you hear those conspiracy thoughts of like how similarly sci-fi movies have predicted the future and how we have things. Like, I hope not. I've seen too much Mad Max.
I know exactly. Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Replicants are coming.
Yeah, man. I think about that all the time. Like my friends are like, oh, we're arguing about, the politics and which side you're on. And I'm like, dude, I'm just getting ready for Mad Max because I saw that movie.
Yeah.
I got a team of people together that have a set of skills. I'm not a prepper. I'm not a doomsday prepper or anything, but I've called a couple of my friends and I'm like, if shit goes down, I'm coming to your house, right? He's like, yeah.
Yeah. Save me a room. Yeah.
Save me a room, please. I'll bring my skills that I have. I'll bring a bass guitar and like some joints. Is that cool?
I think that was in the last Mad Max. Yeah.
Yes, he was. I forget what they called him, but he was hanging with the giant speakers and the flamethrower guitar.
That's right. That would be you.
That was beautiful. That would be me.
Just slapping some bass.
Slapping the bass. I also have here on my notes pies. You are a big fan of pies and desserts, yes?
Yeah. Yeah, I love pies.
Me too. You can see.
Growing up in Minnesota, yeah. Do you like pies? I mean, it doesn't have to do with Minnesota. Anyone, pie's delicious.
Yeah, no, I love pies, all kinds. Mix them with ice cream and
sure,
or any kind of thing. There's this place here called Polly's Pies in California. I don't know if you've ever been or if they have them in Minnesota. I know it's a chain, but they'll get a piece of pie and they'll throw it in a blender and make you a milkshake. Pie shake. Yes. And
they have that up here.
It's the worst for your body, but my God, it's so tasty.
That's why I like to jog. I go for a long run knowing that I can enjoy dessert.
Yeah, you got to earn it, right?
Yeah.
We got to teach people
balance it out.
You got to teach people to pies are fine because you hear it all the time. Don't eat pies. Sugar's bad for you. Don't eat desserts. Like, yeah, sure. If you're just sitting around eating pies all day,
right.
Then yeah.
You'll probably get diabetes, and have high blood pressure and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
but
go work out.
Get
drink
off
some
your
water.
ass. Go run around. Ride a bike. I don't know, get on some roller skates, whatever you want to do.
I want
exercise.
I wanted to ask you about your leg, because you're very open about it. It's, it's on your website. You go and make speeches about it and talk about it. So I wanted to ask you something that went into my head when I started thinking about it, and it's was it challenging at all, or was it because you were born with it? Was it something that you never noticed? Was it, you just kind of adapted and you've always lived like it's fine, like there's no problem? Or did you have to actually was it a challenge for you to adapt to it at all?
Yeah, it was a huge challenge.
Yeah?
Huge challenge. I had a chunk of wood on my leg instead of a foot. Yeah. Huge challenge.
Well, I mean, I know.
I had a pretty good attitude, and like when you're a kid, you just kind of run out and do things because you have to, right? And kids are just active, and but yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I figured it would be, but it, a little bit of like the thought came into my head of like, well, maybe since you were born without it, it just kind of, you're just used to that instead of having to lose it, say in your teens or your 20s or something in war or whatever, where now you have to change your whole life because you've never, now it's missing, as opposed to being born with it.
I would say that gave me an advantage for sure. I mean, like I definitely, talk to people, or somebody will say, I have a neighbor who lost their leg to cancer, and they're having a really hard time sort of adapting and walking and all sort of thing. We'll talk on the phone, have a little conversation. But so I probably had that advantage because, as a kid, you kind of figure it out and things happen subconsciously regarding balance or, just, sometimes I do some things athletically and I think to my mind, like, wow, I wonder how I even just did that, if it's some sort of a plyometrics or skiing or something, and it's almost subconscious and I probably learned that when I was younger, right? You just do it enough times and your body figures out how to balance right, or how to turn right, or how to, I grew up skiing and skating, and, it was hard at first, but, you figure it out, and somehow your body just adapts. Like we're talking about adapting on Zoom and this new COVID world, and right, like you do it enough and your body kind of just tries to figure it out. So I think because I've had it since I had my foot amputated when I was 18 months old. So I've had a prosthetic leg on my right leg below the knee for over 40 years. And, you just figure it out, So I think I have that advantage, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. Like you don't have to think about it, because you're you're so used to doing it. It's not like you're carrying a hot plate, you're thinking about not dropping it. You're just already doing it. So that's cool.
You get your 10,000 hours, and you hear about your 10,000 hours. Right? Yeah. And you do it enough times, your body sort of learns how to adapt and figure things out subconsciously more.
Yeah.
Like you said, not thinking about it, yeah.
Now, to not to get too deep or too personal, but I mean,
it's all good.
When you were growing up, was there a lot of issues with kids being jerks, or were you in a nice town where that wasn't really a problem?
No, I mean, that's the crazy thing is kids are so mean, right? Like, doesn't matter where you grow up, you always have the neighborhood bullies, and you got the kids in the playground. So one of the things I remember, I think it's 5th or 6th grade, I can't remember, maybe both, but there's a couple of kids in the playground that love to pull my leg off and then go chase the girls around with it. Wow. So I'm like sitting there hopping after them, and then they'd throw it over my head, and I'd play pickle in the middle with it. So, you're always dealing with that kind of crap. But, I've always had a pretty good attitude that I could roll with it. I mean, it didn't let me screw me up. I was able to sort of probably deal with comedy a little bit more because of it. And maybe that helped me develop my comic chops a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely helps, right? I think going back to what I said earlier, how like comedians seem to have a source of pain or something that inspires them to work harder. Maybe that's what it is, for you. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, pain is a weird word. Like I think of pain as being something that like death or something like that, mourning,
Okay.
But, like I guess it was an adaptability, right? Like when I had something that I was trying to deal with, I don't remember pain, per se, but I do remember them taking my leg off and chasing girls around with it. So I guess I had to deal with a situation to be agile and maybe use humor to fit in.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Does that make sense?
That
Instead
makes
of like
sense.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like roast comedians. I hang out with a bunch of them at the store, and it's more, not if somebody roasts you, don't get angry and sad about it. You adapt and hit them back. hit them back with your own rose,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what
and
builds,
laugh about it.
Yeah, you guys laugh about it together, and then you're friends. But if you go, somebody
exactly.
comes up to you and just says something mean as a roast, and you get mean back, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be a good experience.
Yeah.
Like, I think about if I were in your shoes and somebody would have pulled my leg off and ran around with it, like, the second I would have caught them, I would have taken that leg and hit them with it. You know what I mean?
right.
Beat your ass with my leg. Let's see how that feels.
right. Yeah.
So, but that's just how I deal with bullies. I deal with it violently.
right. But then you got to see them again, right?
Yeah.
And then every day you're seeing them in school, and you just beat them over your head with your leg, and now they're going to get you, and you're not looking, and you know, it's never ending.
Yeah, you can have that weird friendship then where you're just beating each other up all the time, you know?
Right. Yes, exactly.
I had that in high school, unfortunately. I had a couple.
Did you?
Yeah, I grew up in Jersey, and in my first year of high school in Jersey, I had a couple of Italian dudes like be racist to me, you know, call me the S word for Hispanics, the big old, you know, Spanish slur, and you know, they would torture me with it sometimes, and then one day just I turned around, just knocked one of them out, and it felt so good. Like I was like, oh my God, this is great. And then it hit me, like the guilt hit me, like, oh, I just hurt somebody, you know, physically. Like his tooth came out, so I was like, you know, now there's blood, and I didn't feel good after the fact, but that moment when I did, felt great.
Yeah,
and then
he deserved it. Yeah.
The next time I saw them, instead of them coming at me with the slur or making fun of me, he was like, "Hey, man." I'm like, "Hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Are we friends now? Is that what's happening?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I learned to make friendships through punching people, apparently.
I mean, it's so natural. I'm glad you did it. It's such a bummer that people at that age have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like there's, you know, it's ridiculous. You got to deal with that.
Yeah. I'm glad that I was able to handle it. And, you know, even though it's not right to be violent, but I dealt with it. You know, some people don't. Some people get abused and they go home and they, you know, they pine on it, and that's how you get problematic people in society that, you know, are taking their vengeance out on everyone.
The pent up balance. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to make sure you can take it. That's why I love comedy so much, and especially, like I said, roast comedy kind of builds that thick skin. You know.
Roasting's hard. So do you do roasting at the store?
I don't go up on the mics, but I do go every week. I hang out with Tony Hinchcliffe and Frank Castillo, a couple of the roast battlers, and we just sit there and just talk crap, just make each other laugh, you know, and make fun of make fun of each other's, you know, like, hey, you're bald, so, you know, make fun of that for a while.
Right.
You know, it sounds mean. And sometimes what happens is the problem is I bring that roasting to other groups of friends, like that aren't into comedy, and then I come off as the jerk because I'm I'm just constantly roasting them and waiting for the hit back, and they don't respond. And I'm like, oh, come on!
Right.
Now I sound like a bully.
It is a fine line, for sure.
Do you like roasting? Is that something that you've looked into?
I don't do it on stage, but I have gone to several of those Comedy Central ones when they've been taped and I've been in the audience, and man, when like Jeffrey Ross or somebody does it well, it's a joy to watch.
Yeah, man. There's certain people that are just geniuses at it. Like Jeff Ross, like you said, he's really good at it. Tony Hinchcliffe, he's got his he started a roast university online on Patreon. So now he's teaching people how to roast each other. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I think people should be able to take some jokes. You know, and make, like you said, make comedy dangerous and exciting again. That's the new slogan, my new presidential slogan. Make comedy dangerous again.
I like that. Yeah. I hope we don't get too tied up on being. I mean, I like the evolution, people evolving, but I hope we don't get too caught up on the PC thing with comedy.
Right. Yeah. It's good to be respectful of other human beings, obviously. You know, don't be hateful, respect other people. But there is there is the other, it has to be balanced. If you swing too far to the other side of it, the PC thing, then we're not saying anything. Then we have to censor every word and be very careful about every word we say around each other. And I don't think that's healthy for anyone. I think it's important to build that thick skin, like we were talking about, and dish it back. And that's how you grow together, as opposed to, well, this hurt you, so let's tone it all down. Everybody get toned down, and I don't know. I'm not into that. So
I agree.
Keep making crazy movies.
Keep County Dangerous.
Yes,
I like it.
Keep making crazy movies. I know you've heard it 1,000 times, but if you can work out the deal to get the Beerfest back in your lives, even a sequel to Beerfest would be awesome. If you don't do a Potfest, but just getting those rights would be good. And I look forward to anything else that you can't talk about that you're working on right now.
Yeah. There's another script I'm really excited about.
Okay. Broken Lizard?
So cross my fingers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a Super Troopers 3 in this other script that we're working on. So
are you guys doing the filming in LA? Not that you have started, but are you planning on filming in LA, or are you moving over to Georgia or any place that has less regulations?
Yeah, studios like to shoot in states that have good tax incentives.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually where people shoot these days, is states with better tax incentives. Like we shot Super Troopers 2 in Massachusetts because they had good tax incentives.
Okay.
Beerfest we shot in New Mexico. That was good tax incentives. So we'll see. It's sort of up to the studio and the producers on that end.
Gotcha. Well,
we'll see.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I appreciate your time. I'm going to let you go so you can go back to trying some delicious pies. I saw that Instagram video. What's your favorite pie so far? I had that.
My favorite pie total? As of yesterday's contest or in general?
In general.
In general, growing up, I love peanut butter pie and I like French silk pie.
Ooh.
But I like a lot of pies. I mean, the list would go on and on.
You lean more towards fruit or like chocolatey?
I'd probably go towards the French silk or the peanut butter kind of, cream cheese and peanut butter. It's hard to go wrong. Cream cheese, butter, peanut butter, sugar. Oh. It's all good.
Yeah. I make a mean guava cheesecake.
Ooh, I love guava cheesecake.
Yeah, it's not.
There's a great Cuban restaurant over in Silver Lake that has that.
Which one? Is it El Cochinito or Versailles? Or Portos?
I'm trying to remember the name. It's Portos.
Portos?
No, not Portos. That's the one that's in Burbank. This one's in Silver Lake. It's a purple restaurant on the corner.
I don't know if I
can't remember the name of it.
I got to look into it because that became a mission of mine when I moved from Miami to LA. It was to find proper Cuban food.
Oh, and so good.
I went to Portos. Portos was okay. I went to Versailles. Is terrible. They didn't.
I like their garlic chicken though.
The food is good. I'm just saying, like when it comes to authenticity, I guess is what I was looking for. I ordered a Cuban sandwich and they brought it with French bread, and I almost threw it at the waiter. Like I was like, "What is this?" I started doing little skits when I moved out here, like on Instagram Live of like the angry Cuban in LA. Like you go to Portos and there's a pastelito, is a famous pastry, just flaky pastry with guava inside. And I went to Portos and they were selling it as a guava strudel, and I almost like lost my mind. Like, why? It's not a strudel. It's not.
Last time I was in Portos, Erik Estrada was in front of me.
Oh, nice.
And everyone in the restaurant went nuts. Like everybody came up from behind and everyone just stopped serving the rest of their customers and everyone just swarmed Erik Estrada and wanted to get photographs. Everyone was like, excuse me, could I grab a number 4? Whatever.
I just want a sandwich.
I just want my strudel, please.
Oh, yeah. So there isn't really, I haven't found a very authentic Cuban place here. The closest is Portos and maybe El Cochinito, which is up in that like Studio City area. But I want to open up a food truck out here and do it right. Get some people to send me stuff from Miami,
That's right. Those guava desserts are so good.
Mm-hmm. If you do them right and they're fresh, my goodness, it's the best.
So good.
They have the guava and cream cheese ones. Those are my favorite ones. The mixed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, hey man, again, thank you so much for your time. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so I appreciate you giving me some time, and I'm excited to see Super Troopers 3 when it comes out. I'm excited to hear about whatever you got working on coming up next. If anybody wants to follow you on social media, what's the best way to get all your information about you?
Yeah, please do. Erik Stolhanske, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Try to stay pretty active on there and keep you updated on any future projects. If it's hard to find, just Google Erik Stolhanske, Instagram, Erik Stolhanske, Facebook, Erik Stolhanske, Twitter, and it'll lead you right there.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, you
Cool.
enjoy your time in the cabin. Stay safe. And like I said, keep comedy dangerous, please.
I like the slogan, man. We'll do it.
All right.
Appreciate it. Great talking to you again. Good seeing you, man.
Cheers. Yeah, later.
Cheers.
Leaving the bank and the